understanding what a path is and how to use paths is really important in all of computing, but specifically it's important in HTML when we do links and images, and that's it, I guess, links and images. Is that real? Well, actually, no, not only links and images, and all sorts of stuff. Paths become important. So I really want you to understand this concept. It's really good. It's a really good concept for HTML, but it's also a central concept for using XML. And it's a central concept for doing almost anything we do in any hierarchical medium. Okay, so that idea is going to come much clearer to you soon. But right now, what I want to focus on is the use of paths in HTML, and then also specifically how to do links and images and the tagging stuff. Okay, so paths are all about locating files. And we're going to talk about this again when we talk about something called XPath. But for our idea right now, let me just start with this. So you're on your hard drive, and you are trying to get to, well, let's just say you're on a Windows machine, because on the Macintosh they kind of hide this stuff. It's the same on a Macintosh, but they hide it from you. On a Windows machine, you're navigating through your folders, and you're trying to get to a subfolder, and you've lost the ability to click in the little client area, right? Usually what you do is you just double click on that folder, and it would open up, right? And what you think is happening is that you've opened the folder. But you've lost that ability. Windows is messed up, but you're still trying to get to your file. So all you have is the little area on top, the little bar on the top of the screen that says, you know, here's the file you're trying to get to. So what are you going to type in order to go from the root directory, say, to the first subdirectory, or the root folder to the first subfolder? What divides those things? A little slash, right? In Windows, it's going to be a backslash. So we're going to type the name of a folder, backslash, the name of the folder, backslash, the name of the folder, backslash, the name of the folder. What do you call that thing? Name of folder, backslash, name of folder, backslash. That's the path, right? Think of it this way. I'm on a map, and I'm trying to tell you how to get to another building on the campus. And at each juncture, there's different ways you can go. There's branches, and I'm going to tell you which branch to take. And so I want to have a shorthand for that. And so instead of saying turn left on Market Street and then turn right on Pike and then turn left again on 13th or whatever, I know you can't do that, but that's okay. in my twisted world, you can do that. That's how I think of both streets across. Okay, so what am I going to say? I'm going to create a shorthand, and I'm going to say Market/Pike/13th, right? And that's going to tell you at each juncture what you do. That's how paths work. That's the general idea of paths. In HTML specifically, we always have to locate files. We have to say, where is this file? Where is this HTML page? Where is this CSS file? Where is this image? Where do I want this link to go to? And I'm going to use the same methodology. So I might want to locate a file because I'm linking to it. I might want to locate an image because I want it to show up on the page. The image is in a file. The HTML page is in a file. Right? The CSS file is in a file, and all of those files have to be found. They have to be located. My tool for locating files is a path. I'm going to use that path in order to say where the file is. There's two basic things going on. There's a file over here, and the file is what I'm trying to get to. There's the path, which is the location. You can think of the file as a person in the house, and the address is the path to get to that house. That's why we invented addresses, right? So we can find our way to a particular house. But it doesn't tell you what's in that house. What's in the house is a bunch of people. What's at the path is a bunch of files. We're trying to get to one of those files, and that's why we use paths. Okay, two basic things. And these you really have to understand. You really have to understand and be able to work with these. Otherwise, it's going to trip you up at every juncture. There's a relative path, and there's an absolute path. The absolute path is really the easiest to understand, because it specifies how I get to this file no matter where I am. And no matter where you start from, no matter where you happen to be, and I'll talk about what does that mean to be somewhere in a minute, but no matter where you are, you can always specify the entire whole long path, the absolute path, and that file will be found. So the one that you're most used to is this one. When I say http:// some name of a website, then some names of directories or folders under there, and then a final whack, and then the name of the page, I'm giving a full path. No matter what computer I'm on, I can always find default.asp because I've given the path all the way from the beginning. Now, we're not going to spend any time at the moment talking about, well, what are all these parts of this path and how does that actually end up locating the file? What I want you to know at the moment is that this is the full name. This is, like, it's for example, like saying you want to talk to Bob, right? And you're out there on the street and you say to somebody, hey, I'd like to talk to Bob. And they say, you're going to have to be a little bit more specific, right? And then you can specify, I want to talk to Robert Bruce Boiko, who lives at this address and who's going to be there at 8 o'clock. Right now, you can use that, and from wherever you are, that's going to be good for locating your particular person. Same thing here. There may be a million default ASPs on the web, but this part here says this particular one. This is the absolute location of this default ASP. So that's really good in the sense that it's going to find it. It's really bad in the sense that, well, what if I move default ASP? And what if I don't necessarily know this? Or what if this is going to change over time? Then that direction that I typed, the location, the path that I typed, is all of a sudden going to be wrong. So this one is very useful when you're pointing to something that you have really no control over, that's somebody else's resource on the web, and you just have to specify the whole direction. But what happens to these, Edna? What happens to these links? As you pointed out on the listserv just this morning or yesterday?
Oh, they break down.
They break. Why?
Well, something in somewhere in the path, maybe something dropped or
something changed, they moved the thing, they changed the name of the page, whatever, right? So absolute paths are really good because they'll always resolve. They'll always find the right place. But they're also bad because they can change, and when they break, you don't necessarily know. And when you're the architect, most of the links that are made on the web are not made to somebody else's page. Right? The vast majority of links that are made on the web are to my own pages. My page that's in my same site that's somewhere else on my site. And now, if that's the case, if my page that I'm linking to is relative to the page I'm in now, then a different thing is called upon. I could always use an absolute path, but that's going to be really silly. Because I'm developing the site, I'm moving things around all the time. Every time I move a file from one place to another, every time I move a directory or a folder from one place to another, I'm going to have changes to my path, and I don't want to have to manage that. So I'm going to use relative links. A relative link says, oh, let me finish this one. This is one that you're familiar with. Here's another one that you might have seen. Here's an absolute path. This is the absolute path on my computer to some file in some folder. Here's an absolute path that's used inside of a browser. You may have seen this come up before. This one's HTTP, it means go out to the web. This one's file, it means look on my hard drive, and here's the path on my hard drive. So here's the path on my hard drive. Here's how it's going to look if I type that path in the browser. The browser uses this word file to distinguish between go look on the web and go look on the hard drive. Okay, so here's some absolute paths, very common that you see these absolute paths. But for the most part, you're going to want to use relative paths. A relative path says, assume you're somewhere. Assume there's a path already around a current location. And just use the path that I type as an offset from that current location. So for example, if I use no path at all, I just say page2.html. It says my current location is the right location. I need not specify any additional location, any additional path information in order to find page2.html because I'm already at the folder that contains page2.html. Now put a little bookmark in there about, well, how do I know which is the current folder, right? How do I know where I am right now? Don't worry about that at the moment. Just worry about the syntax. Worry about how this is specified. No path whatsoever means that my my file that I'm looking for here is in the directory, is in the folder that I currently am in.